When one thinks about bullying, the first thing they generally think about is a kid at school getting bullied in the hallway. Or maybe cyberbullies. You know, like the trolls on YouTube who post horrible, hateful comments. About 160,000 teens skip school every day because of bullying. Over 67% of students believe that schools respond poorly to bullying, with a high percentage of students believing that adult help is infrequent and ineffective. But let's first look at the first definition of bully that shows up on Google. To use superior strength or influence to intimidate someone, typically to force him or her to do what one wants. Notice how bully is more commonly used as a verb, not a noun. Bullying is a behavior, not an identity. Yes, bullying in schools continues to be a huge problem, but it's not restricted to just schools. It starts outside of school. In fact, most bullying takes place outside of school. I might even argue that adults do much of the bullying. We need to think bigger here. It's really a horrible cycle that has been on repeat over and over again since the dawn of humanity. It's about power, and human beings wanting power is just a natural instinct, linked with survival. So how do we end that horrible cycle? How do we end bullying? First of all, nearly every person who bullies is a victim. He or she was bullied by someone else. Never forget they are bullying probably because they were bullied. There is evidence to back this up. Researchers from the Institute of Education in London found that less than 1% of elementary age kids were truly guilty of bullying without first being bullied themselves. The study also found that most people who bully are more likely to suffer from low self-esteem and depression, and that the older kids in high school who bullied tend to have some emotional or behavior problems from an early age and were just taking advantage of social hierarchies that existed. Hold on, I'm not saying that they are just victims, that they are off the hook, so to speak. Of course they are not. However, treating people with kindness who treat you badly does go a long way. Just ask that Jesus dude. So what about the people who keep on bullying despite the fact that people are being kind back? Well, they need to be stopped. Most of us have already stopped. But what about the bystanders who let others bully or even sometimes support the bullying? Yeah, this is where we need work. Let's first look at some adults who are bullying. Let's take North Korea, where there are concentration camps probably not much different than the concentration camps Hitler was responsible for. That's right, folks. In the year 2015, the world is letting this happen. Of course, there are legitimate reasons for this. The fact that China is still technically an ally, the fact that North Korea has nuclear weapons, and the fact that they have large army all come to mind. Still, there are plenty of things we can do closer to home. One is setting a good example for our kids. This is something one of the leading candidates for president in 2016 actually tweeted. Quote, "Sorry losers and haters, but my IQ is one of the highest and you all know it. Please don't feel so stupid or insecure. It's not your fault." Sure, it's easy to blame celebrity bad role models, but what about you, fellow non-celebrity adults? Have you ever witnessed a fight and not do anything to help? No, I'm not talking about the sport of fighting. That's a whole other issue to talk about. Fighting that takes place between adults at least once a year in a Walmart near you, for example. How many people first just got out their phones and started filming versus how many people actually tried to break up the fighting? If someone at work is getting harassed by a coworker, do you step in and say it's wrong? If you see a story on the news about people terrorizing citizens of their own country, do you just change the channel and say, "Not my problem"? When we fight terrorism, do other people view us as the bullies for how we fight terrorism? It's a legitimate question when at least tens of thousands of innocent people have been killed in an effort to end terrorism. There are things we can all do to prevent bullying, but it begins with adults, who no longer have the excuse that their brain isn't fully developed. Those of us who don't regularly bully can stop being a bystander who doesn't step in to stop it. Kids, what about you? The best thing is to tell an adult. I know that sounds almost cliche by now, but most bullying occurs because people get away with it. Most students will tell you, believe me, I've talked to literally hundreds of students about this, that teachers and administrators are not doing enough. But my response is usually, how can they do anything if we don't know everything that is going on? I'm not your Snapchat friend. I'm not your Instagram friend. I'm not in the loop. We have to know. They have to know, and you have to tell them. So the adults should stop them. But not just the adults, dang it. Bystanders need to stop being bystanders. If you see bullying every day, tell the kid who is bullying to stop. If the kid doesn't stop, report it to as many people as possible. You should be more motivated to spread a message about something horrible someone has done than a message about how a victim was humiliated by bullying. respect the victim by not bringing attention to the victim. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is the most important point. Bullying only continues when people allow it and give it an audience. Your reaction is everything. How are you going to react to the next horrible thing someone does to someone else?